Okay, Brechin City top of the league now then, after that victory. I felt that game, I know Turriff had their chances, but Brechin created a lot of opportunities.
I felt Brechin always had a modicum of control throughout the 90 minutes, to be honest with you, really. I mean, the early goal that they got through Fraser McLeod obviously helped with that, and it always felt like they just had that, wee bit extra. I mean, Turriff got into some good, it's maybe not quite reflected in the highlights, they did get into some good areas, but in terms of the final decision or action, whether it's a cross or a pass or a shot, just let them down a wee bit at times. There's even the one, I was going to say it was at 2-0, but it was actually at 3-0, but even the one in the second half where Ewan Clark sort of gets into a bit of space down the right, and then if you're going to shoot, you probably need to hit the target and need a couple of guys who could have maybe cut it across to and went for the shot off target. Just wee things like that against a side like Brechin, you've probably got to take those opportunities. I mean, there was one interesting shout I thought, and me and Thirdy were speaking about this before we started, and both kind of agreed. The one early on, just after the first goal, and John Allen for holding, when you see it again with the angle we've got, Fraser McLeod's got his arms sort of wrapped around him, probably is a foul and a penalty. In defence of the referee, I think if you see his position, the issue he has is I don't think through the crowd that he can see it, but wee things like that, maybe if Turriff had got that, it's maybe a totally different game, but that's all sort of ifs, buts, maybes. I mean, take nothing away from Brechin. On the day I thought they were very good without ever really hitting top gear. I thought they were very good, and they won convincingly in the end.
They showed why they're champions, because they just don't give chances away. Lenny Wilson had very little to do. The ball that goes in the back of the net right in the closing minutes is the only time there's a real clear sight of goal.
The biggest thing he'd had to do before that was pin that guy outside the box.
Well, that's an interesting one as well, because it's like, I think Warren Cummings probably right in saying he might have been in the harsh side, but again with that, on another day you could make a different referee might make a case for that being a clear goal scoring opportunity, because if Colin Gray isn't held down, he's definitely getting to the ball first, and I know Ewan Sparks coming across, but there's an unguarded goal and there's potentially players in the middle, so even just again wee things like that, it would have been interesting. I mean, it was maybe clever actually for Lenny in a way, because it was just outside the box. If it'd been a yard inside, I think he would have done that and risked giving away a penalty, but that was maybe slightly of his own making as well, that you're on about things he had to do.
Obviously we knew over the weekend that Brechin were going to be announcing their new manager, replacement for Andy Kirk, who of course left to be Craig Levine's assistant at St Johnstone. We knew there'd be an announcement on Monday, and then at that point you're thinking, oh no, we're going to record the show and then it's going to get announced afterwards. But fortunately it was announced first thing this morning. We know who Brechin City's new manager is going to be. I'll let you announce it to the people that perhaps don't know yet.
Well, it's Gavin Price as their new manager, former Elgin City assistant and then manager, and former Brechin player back in the day over a couple of spells. I always thought, I mean, he's a name that's sort of been circulated over the last couple of weeks, but I always thought it would be somebody of that ilk who had that sort of Scottish League experience, because the bottom line, whoever they appointed, the aim is very much looking for somebody to take them back into the Scottish League, and Gavin Price is somebody who obviously has been at most of his career been at that level, and will be looking to come in and take them back there. Obviously ended in sort of challenging circumstances, a poor run latterly when he was at Elgin, but he did also at one time have them competing up towards the top end of League 2. They were in the playoffs and things like that, so I mean, I think he's, on the face of it anyway, somebody who you'd expect to come in and do a decent job. Stephen Simmons, who we heard from there, staying on as assistant manager, so they've got that bit of continuity as well, so we'll see how it works out.
A great challenge for Gavin as well, to be fair, because with all due respect, I think he's probably got more of a budget to work with at Brechin City than he had at Elgin, and that was in a league above. And it has been a lot of firefighting at Elgin over the years.
Geographically as well, it's probably more suitable because that was his big thing laterally, seemed to be as well. At Elgin couldn't get boys maybe to travel for like the Central Belt.
And to add to that, how many managers get a chance to take over a team at top of the table?
Well, we'll see how Gavin gets on. Okay then, a Buckie victory in the end, but plenty of talking points from that one. I think let's start with the goals. First of all, I think Buckie would have been raging with the defending perhaps for the opener, but it's a good ball through and a good touch from the Wick player.
I think he kind of got both sides of it for Graham Stewart after the game, where he was bemoaning defending, but then also said he couldn't be too harsh because he felt he had some of the best. Feels he has some of the best defenders in the league. I think, over the piece, you saw good stuff going forward from both teams. I mean, Wick, for their point of view, scored a couple of good goals, and at 3-2, especially a couple of things with Kyle Henderson, and it seemed like they were having a wee bit of pressure potentially to maybe try and equalise. And then if you look at Buckie, I mean, there's one man sort of stands apart really in terms of his influence on the outcome, which is Jack McIver. Great free kick, but he's had a part in the other 4 goals have scored, so doesn't it come much better than that really for his point of view in terms of an afternoon.
Free kick was superb, wasn't
it? His set piece quality is outstanding, and when you've got so much height in that Buckie team, he's going to it's manna from heaven for the Buckie players. One overcome to super centre halves banging.
Well, I was going to say Sam Morrison, he's back, and now he's scoring goals. It's just become this big race between all Buckie's defenders.
There is that, but also, I mean, the free kick is just top drawer. You won't see a better free kick this season, I don't think, in the Highland League than that.
The thing you have to say as well is the majority of the time when Andy McCaskill's fit, he takes the set pieces. So when he's out with his broken arm just now, is Jack McIver sort of
usurped him?
Is he sort of winning this battle to be the set piece taker? Is he going to take over? I'd be surprised if he did. To be fair, Andy might have pull rank, but we'll see.
Seniority.
I'd love to know how many assists between the two of them. We keep talking about goals and what's happening with the Buckie Central defenders, but I think that too, in terms of assists this season, must be right up there for the Jags.
I think it's too late to start counting.
Yeah. But we've got a man that'll find
but
it.
Oh, didn't I?
Okay. So, as you said, Callum, though, at 3-2, though Wick weren't out the game, they were still looking pretty, I think both teams looked very dangerous in attack throughout the proceedings, but it is clear from watching the highlights that when Wick get a man sent off, Buckie really take, as you'd maybe expect, a stranglehold in the game from that point onwards, and it looks unlikely Wick are going to get something out of the game from that point. It, to me, is the softest red card in the world. What's your opinion on it?
Agreed. That's my opinion. I'm stunned when I saw it.
I thought he was going to pat him in the back of the head.
I mean, what it basically is, and I ken there's this thing, I believe, within the rules or laws of the game about raising your hands to a player's face or head, but it's basically a flick to the ear. It's what it is, a sort of brush. And for Owen Rendell, and in fairness to Max Barry, and this is, I think, important to say, and we've seen it there, Max Barry doesn't make a meal of it or appeal or really do anything. He just sort of goes, alright, and was away to walk back. And I think it's I don't know, I was praising Harry Bruce last week with the North of Scotland Cup
this is
final.
the issue, you've cursed it.
Can't pin this on me, but I don't know, we were wondering even, has he maybe, because obviously he only gets one look at it, maybe thinks he's seen like more of a swing, or is it a fist or something, I don't know, but I think the footage shows it is pretty soft, and I think Wick are maybe planning an appeal, and I would be disappointed as a neutral looking at that if that wasn't overturned. But I mean, again, referees only get one look at it, but I think it is soft. And it's for anybody that maybe disagrees, what I would say as well is it's a classic of if that was your team that was on the end of that, I can guarantee every supporter, player, manager would be unhappy. So I think if you look at it through that prism, that probably tells you all you need to know.
Yeah. If you disagree, send an email to you'rewrong@gmail.com. Clark the Cunning, we'll go down towards the bottom of the league now, because the result that really stood out for me at the weekend and the way the game played out was Clark the Cunning 4, Strathspey Thistle 4. This was, as I sort of said, a game between the bottom side and a team that was, just a few points.
Team at second bottom, a point above.
Just a point above them. Strathspey 3-0 up at half time via Liam Shewan, Daniel Whitehorn and Ross Logan. So it's already, it's sore for them that they didn't get a win out of this game. Clark hit back from Fergus Adams, an own goal. Connor Bunce comes on, makes it 3-3 on 81 minutes. In the midst of all that, Liam Shewan was sent off for a second booking. But Jack Davison then scores again to make it 4. Oh, he hadn't scored, sorry. Jack Davison scores to make it 4-3 Strathspey. And it's like, 84 minutes or something? And you're thinking, surely now. And then Bunce scores again from a free kick, and it's 4-4. And you just think, like, that must be so frustrating for Strathspey.
A quick look at that league table sums up the issues facing those two clubs. We were looking at it before we put the camera on today. I mean, I think Strathspey have conceded 45 goals so far in the league. Clark have conceded 48. 4-4 tells you everything. The biggest issue that both clubs have got, they can score goals, they just can't keep the back door shut.
If you read Conor Gethin's quotes, the Clark manager, it sounded a little bit like at half time he perhaps went off his nut. And then it was kind of down to his coaches to kind of then, like, bring an air of positivity to what was said.
Well,
hardly think you're patting your players in the back if you're 3-0 down.
No.
His other bit, which was quite telling, was the Clark actually, I think, started quite well, but then before they knew where they were after conceding 1, they'd conceded 3. But for me, I mean, like, Strathspey at 3-0 up, and anybody would say this, you have to win. You do have to go and get the points at 3-0 up. But what's telling us, Michael Ray, the assistant manager, said afterwards, it was like, encouraging them at half time, go and keep going, because he'd that sort of feeling that maybe dread a wee bit that if Clark get 1, their tails will be up and it
momentum
could go badly, and that's what's happened. And what's amazing about it as well is everyone I spoke to, sort of as an aside really, but nobody seems to know who scored the own goal, and clearly nobody's claiming it, but nobody knows who scored the own goal for the second one, so that's mystery man number 1. But I mean, it just fair play to Clark for their comeback. I mean, Conor Gethin said he thought at half time he sort of looked round and they were potentially done, which, it probably isn't a great thing to be thinking or having to say, but they've come back well, so fair play to them. And credit to Strathspey actually for not wilting completely, because once it went 3-3 with 10 men and then even at 4-4 in the dying embers, you could potentially have lost that game. So the good thing for them is they're still only a point behind Clark, and it's still quite tight at the bottom. It's not like they've lost that game and there's a wee gap developed, but if you're a Strathspey supporter, you have to look at that as a missed opportunity, because at 3-0 up, I mean, 9 times out of 10, or 99 times out of 100, you go on and win that game.
There you go. Strathspey, 10 goals they've scored, isn't it, in a week?
10 goals in a week, and they've 4 points out of 9 to show for it, which is...
Know where the problems lie, as you said, Paul. Keith won, Inverurie Locos 2, a first win for Locos under Dean Donaldson, although he was sent to the stands after 60 minutes in this game. It sounded like Locos maybe dominated the first half of this one without really creating many chances, and when they went more direct in the second half, they get a goal through Miles Gaffney, they quickly concede to Gavin Elphinston's equaliser, and then potentially Keith should have gone on to win potentially.
Keith seem to be very much in this ascendancy for what we hear and read, but again, going on about who scored, this is another one. Locos winning goal, our report has it as Nathan Mears. Inverurie Locos themselves have it as Jay Halliday, so again, would love to see this goal so we can, well, just for my list that I keep of scorers as much as anything, it'd be handy. But I think for Locos, a win that's probably been, you know, that they've been craving really since Dean Donaldson's come in there. Pardon me. And, you know, maybe it can be a wee sort of turning point for them a wee bit in terms of there's been a lot of games where they maybe have had a fair bit of the game and they've been beaten, whereas I think in the second half, certainly on Saturday, they were the team on the back foot maybe more of the time, but they've found a way to win and they need to try and build on it now.
Craig, you're going to be frustrated though, wouldn't he? Because here's his side having beaten Strathspey Thistle in midweek, and they've gone to Harlow Park and they're thinking this is probably a good chance for us.
Didn't they go to Harlow
Park?
Sorry.
That's
why they didn't win. They went to the wrong ground. But
I apologise, but they've gone out looking to build on that result and missed their chance. You know.
I think the biggest thing as well for Keith is like the chances ahead. They could have been the team that won it, but it's like just seems to sum up their season a wee bit. That all the league games they've lost there's been a single goal in it. Every game they've lost in the league, I think it's 7. It's all been a single goal in it. And there's a few of them, and Saturday would be another one where even if you haven't scored to win it, you'd think, well, you'd hope you don't lose it. We shouldn't lose it, but they have you know what I mean? They have lost it. Like, and if things worked out slightly differently, Keith could probably be sitting with another 4 or 5 points on the board that they'd amassed just for draws. So it's
fine
both
margins.
The old cliche, both boxes.
But on the subject of fine margins, then down the bottom of the league, certainly Devonvale 3, Lossiemouth 1 on Saturday. Devonvale bouncing back from losing 5-2 to Strathspey. It's kind of like it's very much on the day amongst a lot of these teams.
Lossy were up 1-0, remember?
Well, this is the thing, and other folk have said to me, but Gary Manson is the one who's probably said it. I know that he wasn't involved in this game, but said it to me the most about that sort of bottom 6, 7, 8 teams is on their day, if they play well, they can beat anyone, but the issue is they don't have their day often enough. And Devonvale, in winning this game against Lossy, I think deserve a fair bit of credit, because bearing in mind they've come off the back of, you know, what for them was viewed as a very bad result, and there was a lot of negativity around it last week against Strathspey. They then go behind to a Lossy team who had won 3 on the bounce and kept 3 clean sheets as well, so I think Frank McGettrick was unhappy at relinquishing the advantage they had once they got in front. They seemed to be playing well and then sort of stopped a wee bit. So for Devonvale to come back and win that game after last week and having not won in the league since the first day of the season, and this is now, you know, mid-November, I think they deserve a lot of credit for that, because it might have been easy to buckle and, you know, potentially lose a few more goals again.
Just to make clear, the goals in that game, Lossiemouth were ahead through Ross Morrison, but Oleg Dlugoz, Harry Noble turned it around before half time, and then Ryan Park made the point safe for the Vale in the second half. Right, up to the top of the table, or previously the top of the table, Bankside 2 for Martin United, 1 for Martin, losing top place with this loss and combined with Brechin's win. Deshaun Golden, early goal for D. Sounded like maybe Daniel Hoban, the D goal, had to make a few saves before Mark Lawrence restored parity before half time, but Alaki McLeod headed winner shortly after the interval. I mean, with this one, to me, it's kind of like you're also reminded how competitive it is at the top of the league this season, because, you know, for Martin, top of the table, but I mean, they've now lost twice to Bankside across a couple of competitions.
They have, and this one could have gone either way from what we're reading. But it comes back to what we've said about all the teams at the top. There's so many of them seem to be cutting each other's throats in terms of when the head-to-heads. There's no clear winner other than Brechin City every week, and they're the ones that have just kept it going. It got steadily up the top. Everyone else will go and it'll be a slip up at this game, or against that other rival, and Brechin somehow find a way to win. And I think for Martin will be hurting, because that's, as you've said, that's 2 defeats to Banks of Dee, but I'm sure they'll bounce back.
Well, what you're saying about teams sort of cutting their throats a wee bit, the interesting thing is if you look at Brechin's 11 games, league games they've played Banks of Dee, for Martin and Brora within that, and they've won all of those games by a single goal. And you just, I mean, the Banks of Dee, like the Banks of Dee one, which
the finest of margins.
Like obviously they got a wee break, great free kick, fair play for Martin when they played him, hit the post with the last kick of the ball, and I mean Brora, they got beat 2-1, they were in it right to the end, but those come the end of the season, though, that's games that could have potentially had 3 points out of, they've taken 9. That could make a big difference come the end of the season. But Banks of Dee in a strange way probably sum up what you're on about as well, 30, in terms of, like, last week they drew at Forest, which, if you were going on form in the table, is a game you would probably have expected them to win. So that's, points they wouldn't be happy dropping. But then this week they've come back really well and they've beaten the team that started Saturday top of the table. But that probably just sums up what it's like for a few of the teams, is just points being dropped here and there, which in the long run might prove costly.
I suppose the hardest thing sometimes is to be relentless in a league like this. Brora Rangers 3, Huntly 0. Jordan McRae double in the first half for Brora. Second one was a penalty, then Tony Dingwall added the third for Brora in the second period. Alan Hale said after this game it was a deserved defeat, and that's putting it mildly. Feels like Huntly have been a sort of sticky patch over the last few games.
By their standard, perhaps.
Well, by the standards they set,
by the standard they'd set and the run they'd been on. I think that's 5 now without a win across all competitions, and I mean, in fairness, not an easy run when you look that they've had Brora, Wick away for Houghton, for Martin, Banks of Dee, Forfar, so it's nae
a tough run.
If they'd come through that and won 5 out of 5, you'd have been going, wow, you would have been impressed. But it's just, I think, any team, I think you can probably accept getting beat up at Dudgeon Park because it's a pretty formidable venue. But I think with what Alan Hale was saying, he'd be frustrated that it didn't really seem to feel like Huntly had laid a glove on them. It was too comfortable for Brora. And I mean, even sometimes teams can go to Dudgeon Park and play well and you can still get beat comfortably, because when Brora are at it, they're an excellent side. But I think for their point of view as well, like if you look at their season so far, it's been quite a lot of time sort of games they've played in cup competitions, and like they're in the League Cup final, third round of the Scottish Cup, they're in the semi-final of the North of Scotland Cup. But in the league, they've only played 11 games, and they've maybe gone under the radar a wee bit. And I know the draws with Lossiemouth and Locos at the start of the season, but I think now with the squad that Ali McDonald's got, I think through the winter months I would expect them to put up a really strong challenge to the likes of Brechin and Buckie, etc.
This is very how long's a piece of string, but are we thinking that the Golden Boot battle in the Breedon Highland League this season might be between Grady McGrath and Jordan McRae?
Well, they're the front runners just now, and in all competitions, I think, well, Grady will be up to 23 now, and I think Jordan's got 18. In the league, it's I think Jordan might be second in the league now, but slightly, I think Grady, I would need to look at my list, which I haven't got in front of me unfortunately, but I think Grady has got a wee bit more breathing space in terms of just the league goals only total.
Jordan's benefiting from all those cup competitions. Brora are flying in. Rothes 0, Fraserburgh 3. Aidan Sopel scored, and then it seemed like this game hinged on Jake Thompson failing to take a chance to then quickly equalise. For Rothes, perhaps, then Zane Laird immediately scores to make it 2-0 to Fraserburgh from range. Aidan Sopel scored a second of the game in the second half, which also sounded like a bit of a cracker. But yeah, I mean, comfortable in the end for Fraserburgh, but perhaps that little moment in the first half.
Oh, it's crucial. We've actually seen it, haven't we? And he's 6 yards out, the ball's dropping to him, the goal's at his mercy, and he puts it wide of the post. Fraserburgh basically take the goal kick and work their way up the park, and a terrific finish to make it 2-0. A real sliding doors moment of a football game there.
I do think over the piece from what I've seen and read, the Broch were the better side and deserved to win, but obviously that's a big moment. What I thought was interesting was, if you looked at the team they fielded and the players they had on the bench, Mark Cowie was, the last time they were in action was a fortnight ago when they lost at Banks of Dee, and Mark Cowie was particularly unhappy with how things had sort of transpired in the run they'd been on. And if you look at the bench on Saturday, you had Kieran Simpson, Ryan Cowie, Scott Barber, Sean Butcher, Ryan Sargent, Greg Buchan, all on the bench. You know, a lot of established names there that we're usually used to seeing starting, and players like Aidan Suppel, Zane Laird, Josh Bolton, who've, you know, maybe been waiting for an opportunity or looking for an opportunity, got it. And I think with the result and the way they played on Saturday, they certainly took their opportunity. And the Fraserburgh's playing Brechin at Glebe Park on Saturday, and I think some of those players that played at the weekend have given Mark Cowie and James Duthie a bit of food for thought ahead of that one.
Okay, final game to discuss from the weekend is Nairn County 2, Forest Mechanics 1, a 97th minute Andrew McLeod penalty to win this one. It sounded like the foul for the penalty was the point of sort of the thing that was disputed. It was for a high boot.
Well,
from a player who's going like waist high.
I mean, going to clear the ball, I think.
The first thing, and we'll hopefully be able to put the clip in, I can't understand. Well, I can, but why this is given as a penalty, I just think it just can't be a penalty. The ball's broke at the back post. Mark McLaughlin's gone to clear it. I think it's either Sam Gordon or Callum Mackay, it's hard to tell, coming in with their head, and they sort of go down, their head is well down. Mark McLaughlin's foot's up, but it's not, for what you usually see high feet given for, it's not high feet. And the other thing which is where I have great sympathy with the player is, Mark McLaughlin, I don't know what else he's supposed to do, because he has to go and clear it. If he just stands, there's a very high chance that the Nairn player heads the ball into the net. It's 2-1, and Mark McLaughlin I would imagine will get a roasting off his manager for basically what are you doing?
For those that haven't seen it, he does make a clean connection with the ball.
Aye,
yeah,
gets a connection with the ball, and then the Nairn player sort of coming in with his head. But like he's got no.
It's a debate for me.
No
sorry,
alternative there.
It's a debate for me. Is a waist high clearance high feet when a player is stooping to head the ball in? That's what the referee has looked at and decided that's a penalty.
Most people would say no.
Aye. What I would say as well is, I believe, and I hope he doesn't mind me saying this, but I believe after the game, the referee Gordon Morrison apologised for us. I don't know if he's seen it or what, but he had felt he'd made a mistake anyway, and he'd apologised, which I think, and I know it doesn't put anything in Forrest's pocket, so to speak, in terms of points on the board, but I think if he's done that, then fair play to him for being, you know, big enough and honest enough to admit you've maybe made a mistake, because we'll do it. So, again, fair play. But in terms of the actual game, what I thought was interesting was, I mean, overall, it probably sums up just the run Forest are on a wee bit at the moment in the league. Like this, the first goal gave the ball away quite cheaply. Then it was an excellent finish by Craig McKenzie, equalised, and then you think, well, they'll get something out of the game, and that obviously happens with the penalty. Is maybe worth pointing out as well, going by the highlights, Nairn could have potentially had a penalty before that for a possible handball, which they seem quite keen to flag up as well, but that's, you know, not that two wrongs make a right, but it's just, I thought that was interesting as well, as there was a potential penalty shout before the one that was given.
Steve Mackay said he felt after the cup final win the previous weekend that Nairn were pretty flat in the game, probably Forest with a better team in his opinion. And I think we've kind of said this about Nairn already this season, that under Steve Mackay they've shown an ability to win games and get results even in games where he doesn't think they've played particularly well, which is a good trait to have.
They're the league's grinders. That's what they are, because they're so good at just when they're not at it, just digging deep to pull it out the fire.
I mean, you talk to play well. So
of course you do.
Yeah.
But you'd rather you'd rather play poorly and win, I think, than
play well and lose. Yeah.
Definitely. I think you're saying that. I think it's interesting that in the last couple of months they certainly have been, but if you looked at the first month or two of the season, they were sort of coming out a bit like Forest are just now. They were sort of coming out on the wrong side of those results rather than the right side. But it's amazing once you get on a wee bit of a run how things can sort of turn quite quickly for you.
Yeah. Alright, well that's all the games from Saturday rounded up. Let's have a look at the Breedon Highland League table as things stand now.